Hi everyone. For the majority of works composed during the Baroque and even into the Classical era, Basso Continuo provided the harmonic and textural basis and was a major component of Partimento. Basso Continuo consists of a bass line played by a bass instrument, typically a cello, viola da gamba or bassoon, and chords played by a keyboard instrument, typically a harpsichord or organ. The term figured bass refers to the figures indicating the intervals above the bass notes used to form the appropriate harmony and perhaps some other non-harmonic activity such as suspensions. Unfigured bass was also common and requires the keyboardist to play or realise the figures using only their skill and knowledge. The figures used in figured bass indicate the intervals required to form the harmony and some non-harmonic activity, but don't indicate the chord's spacing nor the rhythms or other textural components which may be included. This means that the realization of the figures varies between performers, providing an improvisational element to the music. Although during the heyday of figured bass, the figures were typically written above the bass line, I'll position them as is currently more typical beneath the stave. Because many of the figures originally used in figured bass are now utilised for music analysis and teaching, many are familiar. For example, the labelling of first and second inversion chords and the various inversions and root position labels of seventh chords are the same. And as with contemporary usage, during the Baroque, seventh chord labels were typically reduced to one or two numbers, unless the omitted number required an accidental, such as here where the third of the seventh chord is raised and therefore needs to be included in the figure. An accidental on its own refers to the chord's third degree, and no figure under a bass note refers to a root position chord. A horizontal line or lines indicates that a chord or a note or notes from a chord are to be held or repeated for the specified duration. To flatten a note, a flat accidental must be used, and to raise a note, a natural or sharp accidental is used, or either a diagonal or vertical line is included in the figure required to be raised. The vertical line was typically used with the numbers 2 and 4. Suspensions are indicated with the appropriate intervals such as 9/8, 4/3, etc. However, occasionally if the harmony is changed or moved to another inversion, the resolution may not be included. Occasionally, the resolution or some other note may not be included in the written score and must be supplied by the figured bass realisation. Here, for example, the octave resolution of this 9/8 suspension is not included in the violin or flute parts and is resolved by the keyboard. In this possible realization by Johann Kernberger, Bach's pupil, on the second quarter note beat, although not included in the figures, Kernberger has doubled the violin's A flat and added the B flat, an instance where a keyboardist's harmonic knowledge and perception of the written parts assists with the realization. Another instance of a realization supplying a note not included in the written score occurs here, where the keyboard includes the C, the sixth above E flat, a note not found in the written parts. The opposite may also occur where the keyboardist chooses not to play a note which is already in the written parts. The decision to include or omit a note or notes is at the discretion of the keyboard player and is one aspect which may vary between performers. When realizing a figured bass, the key signature must always be taken into consideration, although to avoid potential confusion in its realization, the keyboardist must use their knowledge of harmony. For example, typically an accidental will alter a note from the prevailing key, such as here, where this flat indicates that the E natural of the key must be lowered above the bassline C note. However, if the bass note is altered, the figures may then relate intervalically to that note and not to the note of the key signature. For example, here, Bach has indicated that the fifth above the continuo's B natural must be flattened, despite the notes of the key signature already containing the required F natural of the secondary G dominant seventh chord. Taken literally, someone reading the figures may assume that the F, the fifth above B natural, must be flattened, thereby producing an incorrect F flat. Here then, the F is flattened in relation to the B note to form a diminished fifth and not in relation to the notes of the key signature. This is, however, by no means always the case. Here, for example, the fifth above this F sharp is a note already found in the key, but unlike the previous example, here the figures don't indicate that it's to be flattened. I hope you found this useful. Thanks for watching. See you next time.